This weekend, people all over America will celebrate our country's independence. The 4th of July, it's a time to reflect on how privileged we are to have that freedom.
And if you go to a July 4th celebration, you'll likely hear patriotic music. Well, today I'd like to introduce you to someone who's spent a lifetime playing and conducting those tunes. His name is Daniel Boothe. Now, he's a Salisbury native who is also a music conductor for the U.S. Air Force bands. But recently, he set out on what could quite possibly be one of his hardest missions yet, bringing peace to families of fallen soldiers. At the tender age of 5, Daniel Boothe's music career began in Somerset County.
I would beat this box and hit the little lid as a cymbal, and my brother would play the trumpet, and together we performed Little Drummer Boy.
But Daniel's former training in music really didn't get started until his family moved to Wicomico County, and he started playing in the middle school band.
That was an experience that really was continuing to galvanize my interest in music. And then I went to high school at Wicomico High School with James Anno as the director, and we had wonderful years there. And he gave me many opportunities to teach, to lead, to create musical projects there.
Boothe pursued a music education degree at West Virginia University, but decided to change his focus to composing.
And so I left West Virginia University. I lived in Pittsburgh for a while, working with the American Wind Symphony. And then in later years went back to Radford University in Virginia to study composition with an internationally renowned composer, Mark Camphouse.
Boothe went on to finish his master's in orchestral conducting. It wasn't long after that he decided to join the military, something that was a family tradition.
Most of us wouldn't think to put those two together, music and military.
But Daniel did. After learning about the Air Force band program through its chief of music at the time, Mark Peterson.
And began to realize that in that particular opportunity was the intersection of two things that meant so much to me. One was service. That was something ingrained in me when I was young through my military service in the family, but also from my upbringing. I always had a call to service. But then there was this artistic side of caring about music and very passionate about music and what it can do. And I learned that through the Air Force bands, we can put the two together and have a transformative impact on our world.
An impact that has spread to war zones around the world through deployment.
For many years, we weren't formally deploying, but we realized that there was a great need to get downrange and take music down there.
Boothe says the music provided by the bands was a great support for not only fellow airmen, but Allied troops.
When I was on this last deployment, we were loading our equipment onto helicopters. We were dropping in at different forward operating bases around Afghanistan. In one case, we were on a rooftop at a compound out in the middle of nowhere playing for Special Operation Forces who never see any kind of entertainment because of where they're located. But we are combat airman skills trained as well as being the musicians that we are. And when you put those two together, you're able to do things that only we can do for our fellow servicemen and women.
And now Boothe's music is part of another bridge, the one between service and grief. He was asked to compose music for dignified transfer video documentaries that are given to families of fallen.
They were looking for something new that on the one hand would allow us to support it internally and not have to have commercial licensed music, but on the other hand would also provide a more customized approach to the underscoring for that solemn event.
To prepare, Boothe was invited to participate in a dignified transfer at Dover Air Force Base.
I had the opportunity to be there to actually not just watch it, but to be a part of it. And that was critical so that I could understand it also from the inside. But in addition to that, they had provided me resources where I was able to study and learn more about the dignified transfer process through videos and some internal things that we have, some products that help the mission develop and help us train and educate others within our offices on how to conduct that mission.
And although Boothe had composed thousands of pages of music throughout his life, this piece was his biggest challenge yet.
It's one of the most incredible sacrifices that could ever be made. How do you translate that in music? Is it this instrument? Is it that melody? Is it that chord? There's no book on that. I didn't learn that in college. There's nothing on the internet that's going to tell you how to do that. It's something that you have to find inside.
It wasn't until Boothe convinced himself that there was no music that could be commensurate with the feelings of loss or the feelings of gratitude that we have for the fallen and their families. But instead, he could create music to support it.
And when I came to terms with that idea, I'm using music to support, it made me more comfortable about what I was trying to create and how it was going to work in the overall dignified transfer.
And this is music that will not be played for an audience. It will not receive an ovation, and that's okay.
It's not about us. And really, that's the important thing. And so they don't know who I am, and that's quite all right. What's important is that we know who they are, and we know who their brother or sister or son or daughter, we know who they are, and we're here to honor them, and that's why we do what we do.
Daniel says another challenge with composing the music for a dignified transfer was creating a piece that could be customized for each fallen service member.
Wow.
Yeah, what a job.
Touching tribute. Well, people memorialize and honor their loved ones sometimes with flowers. But with the declining bee population, that's getting more difficult to do, naturally. So up next, we learn what's being done to replenish the bee supply.
And you can do your part by planting these pollinators. Gardening expert Jenny Rosenkrantz is here to tell us more. Delmarva Life, we'll be right back.